What's up? Doing a impromptu Monday night in the Earlverse. After last night's episode was cut short due to the internet, the wonkiness of my internet. But that's what makes the Earlverse what it is. We might do an hour, we might do 10 minutes, depending on the internet. I keep you guessing. You might hear Lois cough. You might not hear her cough. She's right there just chilling right now. And it's too bad. We were getting a nice flow last night, but what are you gonna do? What up, William Zoom? Are you ready to rock? I know it's late for some of you East Coasters and Midwesters. We'll keep the stream high and tight. I don't know if anyone else is streaming right now. I'm assuming somebody is. But what up, T Gun? Got some of my favorites in here. But you know what? I don't really care if anyone else is streaming. We're a family in here. Do you have a set bedtime? Absolutely not. Queen on. Probably, I would say my average time I go to sleep is 4 a.m. It's late or early, depending on, I have friends of mine who I take yoga with. They're up 3 a.m. Functional at 3 a.m. My one buddy who's a producer in Hollywood, he is up, awake, and ready for business at 3 a.m. It's unbelievable how someone can be like that. But, he's also doing a lot of overseas films. So he's got to be up and functional to talk to people in, say, Australia, the UK, Israel. That's definitely not a job I would want. But he makes the money, honey. No, he's a straight shooter. Went totally religious, family man. I mean, he was a hound back in the day for sure, but he is wide awake, and he helps distribute and produce films. What up, Ryan? That are like Van Damme films in Germany or whatever, Seagal films and Tel Aviv. Seagal is popular in Tel Aviv, but that's the other end of the world. No, I'm in front of the camera. I don't want to make other people funny or good. I want to be good and funny. So, I'm getting a little bit of the taste of a producer. What up, Mason? I did not see Rogan's Netflix special. I don't watch specials, as you guys know. I did see one joke posted, I think, on Twitter about COVID. Something about, I forget the joke. It was we lost a lot of people during COVID, and they're still lost today, or something like that. I thought that was a clever joke. I think Seagal was. I'm not gonna watch it, and not because I don't want to. I don't want to watch comedy. I want to do it. So, but that I'll take your word, Urbane. But that's what his audience wants. Well, I'd like to live in that bubble too. See, I don't really know who Rob Saul is. I know he's Dabbleverse, but, um, I mean, Seagal was so unliked on the set of Executive Decision, they literally killed him 5 minutes into the fucking movie. Like, if you watch Executive Decision, which is actually a pretty good action movie, great bad guy in it. Um, it about halfway through, you start to notice that John Leguizamo had a lot of speaking parts, which, compared to the rest of the commando unit, and it didn't really make sense, but apparently they gave John Leguizamo most of Seagal's lines. Seagal was supposed to make it onto the, uh, plane with the rest of the commando unit. Um, so, wasn't he known, Rob Saul, for, like, dealing coke or something? I mean, I'm so checked out of the Dabbleverse, I'm not trying to act like I don't know who he is when I do, but I don't. I mean, I had heard that, Seagal was supposed to get on the plane with them, but he was acting up, wouldn't come out of his trailer, and, no, I mean, but Are You Ready to Rock? See, you're not a comic, so it's easy for you to say that. Like, it's not about my mind being opened, it's just I don't like watching stand-up. Um, the same way I would imagine Tom Brady doesn't like watching football, or at least when he was playing. It's the last thing he wanted to watch was probably football because he's around it so much. And I'm around so much stand-up comedy, I don't wanna be home watching it. Um, yeah, I like John Leguizamo, but, I think Seagal had some good movies. William Zoom just beat me to it. Above the Law, I loved. Um, Under Siege 1 and 2, because 'cause I'm a big Eric Bogosian fan, I liked. That's about it. Yes, Under Siege is with, Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey. Uh, yeah, I mean, maybe Tom Brady. I mean, some football players, love watching football. But, like a lot of my friends who are pro wrestlers, like famous ones, they don't watch pro wrestling because they're around it all fucking day. Especially the guys in WWE and the girls in WWE, in AEW, but now they have a fair amount of TV time now too. Um, you know, like I just saw a friend of mine. I don't want to blow their spot up, but I was walking Lois, and I saw someone I know in AEW just chilling in West Hollywood, eating on a diner, and they had just gotten back from filming an episode of Collision, and you think they're gonna go home and watch Dynamite? Fuck no. So that's why. Yeah, but are you ready? I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. I don't want to watch comedy. I want to do it. And when I'm home, not at the comedy store, or on the set of I'm Dying Up Here, or Roast Battle, or you know, I don't want to watch someone else do stand up. It's just not. It's like, I don't know what you do. Are you ready to rock for work? But would you want to go home after you got off of work and watch something that's work related? Fuck no. Brendan Schaub is so funny. You're a good liar. Uh, I proclaimed my love. We don't do the Dabbleverse stuff in here, Ambrose. You know that. Uh, I did watch Schaub's special because so many people were asking me about it. I've watched 2 specials in literally the last 10 years. Um, Schaub special and Jeselnik's. I don't know if it was his last special, but it was one of his last specials, and it was amazing. Like, he's someone I look up to a lot, even though I'm older than he is. Like, he conducts his business like all comics should. He goes to the Comedy Store, wherever he's at, he kills for an hour, and he leaves. He don't get involved in the fucking drama, um, and whatnot. Well, I think I'm very passionate about stand-up, but, um, I need some downtime. Hell, even this stream is like I'd rather do a stream to 13 people than watch Rogan's special or anyone's special. And I like Joe. Joe's always been very good to me. Mentions my name on his podcast. Just the mere mention of my name on his podcast, I get 50 new followers. Can you tell Bret Hart is so sad and bitter from watching Who Killed WCW? I mean, I think Bret Hart's a pretty bitter dude. And I get it, Goldberg fucking ended his career, you're in there, but it's fucking phony wrestling. It's not like, I mean, Bret Hart's a great wrestler, but it's not like the Olympics here where, it's predetermined who wins, bro. So, and the fact that Goldberg hasn't really apologized. I mean, in the one episode of Who Killed WCW, Goldberg, and I'll give him this, he did the interview, he could have said, "Nah, I'm not talking about that shit anymore," but, he was just like, "Hey, man, I apologize. What the fuck do you want me to do about it? It happened." Um, so Bret Hart and, the Montreal screw job, that's his roast battle. I get it. Um, oh, well, thank you, Michael Trevor. I mean, yeah. Well, I also don't like watching a lot of comedy in general because I don't wanna take people's ideas or, um their cadence, or you know, I just I don't know why I always go to Tom Brady, but I would imagine Tom Brady didn't watch game films of other quarterbacks. Now I'm not saying I'm as successful as Tom Brady is in football and comedy, but I'm just saying, uh, wait, Brendan Schaub said I'm fighter and the kid I'm around MMA so much I want to talk. So much that I want to talk about celebrities. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would imagine Brendan Schaub just he probably watches UFC now, but like because he can commentate on it and go, "Oh, I would have done that differently or this," but everyone's different. What up, sour milk? Uh, would you want? I've already performed at the Comedy Mothership, and it was fun. I mean, I was treated very nice. Joe got up. He looked like he was on a pretty serious phone call or whatever. Ended the call right away, gave me a big hug, said, "Welcome to the club." And then when he left, he bought everyone burgers. And I don't mean just like Burger King. These burgers were like probably $20, $30 each. You could just tell the way they tasted. He gave me a big hug goodbye, said, "Come back anytime." I don't think I would last too long against Schaub. Um, yeah, Brendan Schaub could kick my ass. Um, am I going to be part of the comedians? For Kamala, the Ugandan giant, I will be, yes. Um, well, I mean, I could understand why Bret Hart was mad about the Montreal screw job. He was told one thing, and then in his home, he's from Calgary, but in his home country, I think he just wanted to drop the belt the next night on Raw in America. He's an icon in Canada, and so I get it. Vince lied to him. Um, And, I respect, Bret Hart for fucking slugging him and, um, Ben Jones, ma 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 um, I'm not writing too many Kamala jokes, I'm just not interested in her. Listen, I've said it before about Shaw. What up, chill boots? Shaw's been very nice to me at the Comedy Store. I got no beef with the guy. I mean, I don't think that first special was good. But he's always very pleasant. It's very short. We don't talk a lot. It's like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" Fist bump. And Pat Patterson is in the WWE Hall of Fame. So is, I think, Carlos Colon, and most people think he killed Bruiser Brody. I mean, pro wrestling's insane. Uh, if the Dark Side guys had any balls, they'd do a deep dive on Pat Patterson. Yeah, I mean, you have to interview the kids, or they'd be full adults. It'd be like Finding Neverland. Michael Jackson. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I don't really feel too sorry for that French pole vaulter. He's got a big dick. I mean, I, I think he's gonna live. Uh, yeah, I mean, that one interview where Roddy's doing a shoot interview and they bring up Pat Patterson, you instantly see him straighten up and he almost like turned ghost white. So, I mean, listen, I see it all the time in stand up. You know how many fucking predators are at comedy clubs every fucking night preying upon young comics? Um, men and women, gay or straight, it's just the way the business is. It's never going to change. You can just hope to educate the younger comics um, that they have to look out for certain types. I did watch Bruce Jenner in the Olympics as a kid. I mean, he was fucking unbelievable. I mean, I don't remember Roddy being on Kill Tony, but I mean, that must have been a very early episode of Kill Tony. I mean, I was on some early episodes. Has the Iron Patriot? I think Tony and Red Band were doing looking for an Iron Patriot replacement, so they were auditioning. I think me and I don't know who else did it. Maybe Jeremiah did it. And then I think I did the panel a couple times. I remember one time I did it with Michael Costa, another time with Kirk Fox, and then my last time was with Jim Norton and Sam Roberts. And then I have not been asked back. So, but that's okay. Um, I don't really want to interact with David Lucas or like William Montgomery. So I'm good on that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think, that guy's an idiot. He could have been a part of a show. I don't want to be back though, to be honest with you. And I know I'd probably get like a ton of followers from it, but I'm really not into the roast battle sense of humor anymore. I participated in the peak of roast battle and the rise. I don't think I participated in the peak of Kill Tony, but I think with Kill Tony, I never really felt like roasting open mic level comics. To me, that's not really an accomplishment. It's like shitting on someone who's a year or less into comedy. It's like if I'm going to roast someone, I want it to be combat. Someone who's on my level as a roaster, not some fucking newbie comic who is. I saw that one clip from Skankfest where that heavyset girl was just getting blasted by Tony and Gomez and Smith and it's like 5 headlining comics killing this girl, and she fought back. But it's like, does it really take 5 of you to take this girl down? Um, so, well, I was supposed to roast Adam Egan, but someone in particular did not want me on the roast because I was going to make fun of something in his past. So, well, I mean, I just think, yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the tail end of my roast battle days, I only wanted to battle the best. I didn't want to battle someone I knew I could beat. What fucking fun is that? So, I mean, if you look at all the people I beat on TV, the odds were clearly stacked against me, and I loved it. I mean, I do wish I would have gotten a warm-up match like everyone else, but uh, that's not how the show was intended to be. You had to be friends with a certain manager, and you would be taken care of quite nicely. I mean, I literally forced my way onto the show that I helped create. So that's why I'm like bitter about it. But if you even when I was checked out, like when my last roast battle was against Robin Tran, who's one of my good friends, a fellow wrestling fan. Uh, that was battling a trans comic in San Francisco. I mean, I put my odds of winning that at 10%, and, I had some killer jokes and they just fell flat. Thank you, Ross. I want your eyes, pig. Um, I didn't watch SummerSlam, to be honest with you. So, oh yeah, so much ball washing. I do like that phrase I've picked up from the Dabbleverse. A lot of ball washing in comedy. Yeah, I mean, I don't want jobbers. I mean, if you look at the last five people, now you've got to be a real fan of Roast Battle to know who most of these people are. But I challenged Pat Barker when he was the ranked number one. I challenged Alex Hooper when he was the champion. I challenged the idiot from New York who had like a 12-0 record, but he was totally fake record, just battling his friends, being judged by his friends in his home club. I mean, not impressive at all. And I challenged Jeff. And I asked for a rematch with Jimmy Carr, even though I beat him the first time. I said, let me go to the UK. Virtually impossible to beat Jimmy in the UK with UK judges. And they're like, we can't risk him losing to you twice. Okay. So it's time for bed. I'm not going to bed for probably about another 6 hours, brother. So besides Rogan, which comics put other comedians over? Not many. I mean, you look at all the famous comics I know, and none of them have me on their podcast. And they know it would help me too. I'm not complaining, but I mean, just answering your question. I mean, listen, whether you like Rogan or not, he's made Bert's career, Segura's career, Christina's career, Ari's career, Henschliff's career, Redband's career, um, Duncan's career. I mean, he's, um, Andrew Schultz is probably the newest guy to like pop from Rogan. Um, so it's really, you got to, whether you like Rogan or not, even in Austin, if you go to, he's financing like 30 people's lives right now through jobs and gigs, and it's pretty fucking impressive. Yeah. I've known Christina before she was married to Tom, and I love her a lot. So um, whether you pray or not, or whatever you do, please say something to whatever you believe in for Christina Pazitsky. She's awesome. She's the best. I wish George Lopez would put comics over. Yeah, I mean, I don't really follow his world. I mean, I know Gabriel Iglesias has a lot of Mexican comics open for him in like huge fucking arena crowds, and he pays them very well. Um, yeah, breast cancer, Queen on breast cancer. Do you like the Ultimate Warrior? I wish I could tilt. I have a signed Ultimate Warrior framed picture. So yes, I love the Ultimate Warrior. But I mean, I can't. I mean, Santino put over my buddy Doc Willis. I mean, Doc was literally a fired door guy from the Comedy Store. The lot guy. Doc was the lot guy. He wasn't fired. Maybe he might have left. And Santino puts Doc on his podcast as like the sidekick, and bingo, like he's got 100,000 followers. Got on the jellies, and so there are other comics who put other comics over. They don't happen to enjoy putting Earl over. If you could go to dinner with three dead wrestlers, who would you want to hang out with? I would say Rick Rude, the Ultimate Warrior, and Gary Hart. I mean, Rob Schneider pays it forward. I mean, he takes a lot of not necessarily young comics, but he takes a lot of comics out on the road, pays for everything. SD Jones. Earl should be a pole vaulter, but I mean, I don't know about that. That guy's dick looked pretty big. Can you imagine you train your whole life? I mean, years upon years and thousands of hours and just your whole life is pole vaulting or whatever your sport is, and you lose because your dick was too big. I mean, that's nuts. But that guy's going to be getting so much pussy that I can't really feel that sorry for him, to be honest with you. I mean, I got a good body for 55. I'll be 56 September 17th. So put that date in your calendars, kiddies. The daddy man will be 56. Um, well, I work out a lot. I mean, I just got home from hot yoga last night. I did like an hour and a half weight workout. Um, and I mean, I hope I can get to 69. You don't have to super chat me. I don't do these streams for the money, honey. I mean, listen, is it nice to, get a few bucks? I don't know. These streams don't, I know, poor Lois, but she's doing good. Uh, you know, let's make September 17th the greatest super chat day in the history of the Earlverse. Let's break all records, drive Kevin Brennan mad. Yeah, I'm just not interested in SummerSlam. I just don't watch WWE. We got AEW All in London. Now, let me see. Let me get the card for All in London. Now, this is usually sometimes when my internet goes out, when I open up the iPad. Hopefully, it doesn't. Let's see here. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. We're having a good stream here. London card 2024. All right. The SmackDown Hotel. Let's see. Okay, so we got Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Championship. That'll be a good match. Timeless Tony Storm with Luther versus the glamorous Mariah May. There's been good storytelling for this, so I am looking forward to that. I'm sensing maybe a Jamie Hayter return for this. Got the American Championship, MJF versus Will Ospreay. That's probably going to be the match of the night. The AEW TBS Championship, we've got Mercedes Moné with Camille versus Dr. Britt Baker. And AEW TNT Championship, Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Darby Allin. Now, so far, the Young Bucks aren't in this. Okada doesn't have a match, which I find crazy. I don't know if they are waiting to see if Omega can come back, because I wouldn't mind seeing Omega and Okada, but I don't know if Omega's ready to wrestle. And the only kind of like wow factor to AEW All in London is the rumored appearance of Shane McMahon, which would be nuts. But I don't know if he would just come in and say cost Ospreay the match in London. I don't know if maybe you could put him against Okada just to have Okada something to do. Shane's going to do a wacky bump. So that's like the only oh my God, I hope they show up. I mean, maybe Jamie Hayter showing up. Have you watched the new Ray DeVito documentary? It's really sad. No, I'm not going to watch a fucking documentary on Ray DeVito. No offense. Yes, Chris Jericho still wrestles. Mercedes is still bad on the mic, getting better, but she should just wrestle. She's a great in-ring technician. Well, that'd be cool, Kongzilla. Earl, what NFL teams you have doing good? I mean, I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler guy, so I'm rooting for the Steelers. I mean, he's wrestling a Swerve Strickland, of course, with the great Prince Nana. So I don't know. I think Swerve Strickland's been a great champ, so I don't want to see him lose. I don't know if it necessarily makes a lot of sense to put the belt on Daniel Bryan, but um, I mean, I don't think I could wrestle. I mean, I'm strong for a comic, but if you told me, hey, you got to lift up Will Ospreay, I would struggle. Do you think Pittsburgh lands Ayuk? Well, I heard the Browns are really coming close. Um, Ayuk would be interesting. I don't know how that would play with George Pickens, though. Like Pickens is a bit of a diva, so I don't think he would like Ayuk coming in, but he might because Pickens, as of right now, is just going to get triple teamed. I mean, the Steelers don't really have a second option other than Freiermuth, who's the tight end. So I think Pickens wants to be the guy, but man, if you have Ayuk on the other side, you can't cover them both. Um, oh, really? I didn't see that. I know the Giants had a couple brawls, I think, with the Lions. I didn't know if I didn't see the Steelers had any. Whose house? I must say, Prince Nana is growing on me. Um, yeah, I mean Ayuk, but he's going to want a lot. So I think the bad thing for the Steelers is like if you sign Ayuk, then Pickens is going to be like, well, I want what he's getting or more. I used to play fantasy football a lot. I won my league 3 years in a row. I was a maniac. Um, but I'm such a Steeler fan that I would like sit my players if they were playing Pittsburgh. Like I had Tom Brady one year as my quarterback, and I would sit him against the Steelers because I didn't want to root for Tom Brady against my team, and then so I'd sit him and play like Mike Tomczak, and then of course Brady would always torch the Steelers, and I'd lose by like 10 points, but I won my league like I said 3 years in a row because I was a maniac on the waiver wires. And I picked a kicker first, which is controversial because you think everyone gets a good kicker, but at least in the NFL when I was playing fantasy sports in the mid '90s, there was that one guy in the Colts, Mike Vanderjack, and he was the best kicker in the league by far at that time in that 3-year stretch. So I drafted him, I think, with my first pick, and people were like looking at me going, huh? But this is when the Colts offense scored a lot. So you were guaranteed like 15 points a game with him versus picking, say, the Steelers kicker in that time frame. You get maybe 6 points, a couple touchdowns, maybe one field goal. So, so I could have my choice of the best kicker in the league. And I'd also draft a tight end relatively early because that's like a third receiver. Um, and I would also draft like I remember one year. Here's how my fantasy. Well, this was at the time now at that time when Vanderjack was the clear cut. He's the best kicker in the league, and he's on a team that scores a lot of touchdowns, which only gets you 1 point. But they also um, they kick a lot of field goals. So um, I didn't really draft a lot of Steelers. I think when I was playing, I drafted very few Steelers because the Steelers at that time they didn't really score a lot. So I'm trying to think of some of the running. I mean, I had Ben Coates. He was my go-to tight end. I had Curtis Martin. He won me. He was on those 3-peat teams. Um, Eric Metcalf. He was. But I was a maniac. Like I was. I once traded a guy. I forget what I got, but I knew he was a Carolina Panthers fan, and I traded him Fred Lane, who drowned in a pool trying to save someone. And this guy didn't know Fred Lane had died yet, so I traded him Fred Lane, and I think I got like a pretty good player in return. I mean, it's cut out. It's a cold business. Do you think the Bills are done? I mean, Josh Allen's pretty good, but like, if you can stop him, you have a good chance of winning. Hope you do that football prediction show some this season. If I did, I would do it on my own. The other two guys, I just, they were. I think I can let the cat out of the bag now. They were trying to, because the one guy, Jason's a huge Hollywood manager, and they were trying to get together a show where the other guy, Mel, would barbecue, and then we sit around and eat and talk football. But I knew if that show ever got on the air, I'd be the first guy left or first guy cut. Because you probably want a hot girl on the show. You just want 3 old white dudes. So if I do a football prediction show, it would just, maybe I'll do an NFL stream, a gambling stream, Friday night before each game. That could be fun. Did you like the Steelers with Cordell? I mean, he was a good runner, and he had a fucking strong arm. You got to give him that. So yeah, I mean, you always have one player that you trade or cut, where you kind of, I mean, I never really had I fucked up moment there. I was a really good trader, because I'm a huge football fan, not quite as big as hockey, but, and, I know back then, I would read the magazines and the dirt sheets, and I mean, there's all kinds of gambling, like newspapers for fantasy football. And, it's not just picking a good player, but it's picking you can, like here's how my league worked. You had $150 in fake money to pick, I think it was 10 or 12 players. It might have been 12. So you had to have at least one quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a kicker, and you'd have backup. So I think it was 12 players, $150 fake money. And I think it was at least 10 people in my league. And we go to my buddy's house. He had like a Last Supper table. And I remember one year, it was the greatest move in a league like this. This is when Terrell Davis was a maniac, like just scoring 3 touchdowns a game. Oh, Sean Alexander also was a guy I used to win some of those titles. I had the first pick that year for whatever reason. So I said, okay, so I need to draft 12 players. And toward the end, in the later rounds, each player will cost like $1. Like, I'll take Gary Anderson, the kicker, $1. So I bid for my first selection $120 for Terrell Davis, and I had no intention of keeping him. So no one was going to pay more than that, because you had to outbid people in $5 increments if you wanted the same player. And then I traded him after the first game where he had like 3 touchdowns for like 7 players, and I won the title that year. So Ben was better than Drew Brees. I mean, that's tough. I mean, I think if Roethlisberger gets at least 2 more Super Bowls if he's not playing against Tom Brady. The Steelers definitely would have gotten 2 more Super Bowls if Brady wasn't in the league. But I mean, the Steelers just could not beat Tom Brady. He was unbeatable. I mean, I think if you take away Roethlisberger's off the field issues, he's a pretty fucking amazing quarterback. Strong arm, not mobile at all, but could extend a play. Maybe the best quarterback ever at extending a play, because he was so fucking big. What was he, 6'6", 6'7", 250 pounds? Like, he's bigger than any linebacker that's going to go after him. But you just couldn't beat Brady. Yeah, I mean, there's that Super Bowl. I mean, the Steelers always had a great defense. I don't know. I mean, Drew Brees, great quarterback, completely different animal than Roethlisberger. You think the Chargers will do well under Harbaugh? Yeah, I mean, he seems pretty into it. I kind of feel bad for the Chargers. They're not very supported here in LA. Like I don't see any Charger billboards or whatever. Um, yeah, I mean Rivers definitely. The Giants probably could have won. I mean, you could probably say that at least 5 or 6 teams would have won at least one more Super Bowl if not for Tom Brady. Um, yeah, Brady's a great quarterback though, and I'm a Steeler guy. Um, he just I don't know, man. It's weird because he's not that athletic, but at least with the Steelers, he always torched them. I mean, always. Um, I mean, there probably will be another Big Ben. I mean, there's loads of quarterbacks who are 6'5", 6'6". I mean, I don't think there's too many that are like 260 like Roethlisberger was, or whatever he was, 250 maybe. Um, but yeah, he's a tough guy. I mean, remember that one game where his nose was broken? He didn't even had put tape on it. Uh, yeah, I mean, he's definitely like I'm not saying this just because I'm a Steeler fan, but maybe the greatest quarterback ever at extending plays. You just couldn't bring the guy down, and he always had some good receivers. His problem was the offensive line was pretty brutal most of his tenure in Pittsburgh. Ironically enough, except at the end where they probably had their best offensive line. Um, yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is faster than Roethlisberger. I mean, Ben really did not have great mobility, and I don't expect someone who's 6'7", 250 or 6'6", 250 to, um, have like blazing speed. But, he had a great run. I mean, that throw to Santonio Holmes, maybe the great, maybe rivals the throw from Montana to Clark in the conference finals against the Cowboys. Ben played in the AFC too. Yeah, I mean, the Ravens were. I mean, Roethlisberger did not have an easy schedule. Playing the Ravens twice. The Bengals was fucking blood sport for a decade between the Steelers and the Browns, although not the best team. I mean, that's the thing. The AFC North, you got 6 tough games guaranteed. And then you got to play the Patriots. Now, what I don't understand, and I'm going to the game again, is why the Steelers play the Raiders in Vegas 2 years in a row. I would think you'd want to alternate. Okay, last year they played in Vegas. This year they want to play in Pittsburgh. But yes, please do, Ross. I want to rock Boulder Johnny 007 in the house. Check out my Pierre-Luc Dubois game-worn chrome dome helmet. It's the newest background decoration. So, but should be a good season for Pittsburgh. You've got obviously they totally revamped the quarterback room. I mean, I was kind of hoping they'd bring back Mason Rudolph. Guy got a lot of shit over the years, but he never didn't show up for work. So you've got obviously Russell Wilson, um, Fields, and then I think Wilson from the Jets. Um, no more Matt Canada. You got Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator, who's bringing in a lot of his second and third string receivers from the Falcons. So, listen, if we could get Ayuk, I know, and maybe the 49ers are throwing that out as a smoke screen so the Steelers up their bid. The funny thing is I don't think I don't think the ask is that much. I think it's maybe a first round pick, and maybe something else, but um, the contract's going to be big. He wants to get paid. Um, yeah, I mean, I mean, and I think this year the Steelers have a really fucked up, like something like their last 6 games are against division rivals. I mean, that seems a little unfair. Oh, I mean, but here's the problem though with Ayuk is He strikes me as the type that wants to be the guy, and he probably should be, but Pickens is on the team too, and he wants to be the guy. So you got some problems there because look at what happened when Deontay Johnson wanted to be the guy, and they were throwing a little bit more to Pickens, and it did not work out for Deontay. Um, so well, it's tough, in this day and age of the salary cap. It's you can't really give one guy, the big fucking money because then, McCaffrey's going to be like, hey man. Yeah, I mean, Antonio Brown, like he's a maniac. And I mean, I loved it when the Steelers had Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, and there was one other receiver. Wasn't Santonio Holmes, but it was like, wow, man, who do you fucking cover? I mean, Antonio Brown, if he would have stayed with Pittsburgh, could have been one of the all-time greats. Instead, he just is now basically a footnote. And the fact that he did cryotherapy with no socks on, I mean, dude, I can't tell you how painful that must have been. I've done a lot of cryotherapy, and you can't do it with no foot covering. I mean, at the minimum, you got to have a towel over the grid. I don't even think Antonio Brown did that. I mean, his skin literally was frozen off. Yeah, I mean, that probably was the start of Brown's problems. But, the Steelers, they're gonna have a great defense. I mean, the guy they picked up from the Ravens, was it, Peterson? He's, it's interesting he chose to go to a division rival. So it's gonna be well, it's probably a major concussion, and then he lost his fucking mind, and he went crazy because every time the play was drawn up for him to go over the middle, he probably got worried. And I mean, remember when Joey Porter was like in the middle of the field? It was like, this guy's a fucking coach. Get him off the field. Um, yeah, Juju was a great receiver. But I think Pickens. I just don't know how him and Ayuk could coexist on the same team. And I mean, they kind of revamped their offensive line. There's a lot of rookies on that offensive line. So I don't know if the Steelers would be a passing offense with a couple rookies on the offensive line. And Wilson's not that mobile. I mean, Fields is. I mean, I would think the offensive line is more set up for Fields than Russell Wilson, but we'll see. Speaking of head hits, why did Cody Rhodes take an unblocked chair shot? Well, I mean, I don't know on that particular Mr. Boots, but did you see last week when now they say the chair was gimmicked, but when Jack Perry took a massive chair shot from Darby Allin. Now, some super fans slowed down the footage and said, oh, you can tell it's a gimmicked chair. But gimmicked chair or not, that was a chair shot along the lines of, say, Mick Foley against The Rock. So, I think, it's softer, instead of like it being a typical arena chair, which is a hard surface, it's a little more pillowy, but it still hurts. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't really have anything here, but I could, anything's gonna hurt, once you got the adrenaline pumping, but it's just softer and it's more, there's more give to it. It's not as stiff. It's like the tables. Those tables are so fucking paper thin. They don't really hurt. Um, yes, Pat Queen. I think I said Peterson. Um, I mean, I'm trying to think, my buddy Big Bill, I'm friends with Big Bill. He almost got fucked up recently on a table because he got thrown through the table, and he's so fucking big. He's like legit 7 feet, I guess 300 pounds. That when he hit when he broke the table, the one of the the chair legs went right like that, and like 3 inches from his going through his kidney. Um, so yeah, I mean, but they are gimmicked chairs. They're not gonna fucking in this day and age of CTE and um, concussions. I don't think anyone outside of a fucking maniac is gonna say, "Hey, hit me." They go over this shit um, a lot backstage. Like, "Hey, where do you want me to hit you?" I mean, I was at XPW. I was backstage one time, and who was it? Dirty Ron McDonald and Sabu were doing an angle, and it was so neat to be behind the scenes. And I'm back in the wrestler's room, and Dirty Ron McDonald was going over with Sabu um, where to hit him. And I think Sabu had a shoulder injury. So he said, "Hey, just don't hit my right shoulder. Just do everything on the left side." Um, so um, it was interesting too. And then, 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in the crowd watching the exact spot, and it was a perfect, everything was on the left side of the body. And so, it's not, they just don't wing it. Um, it's like Ric Flair, I think the right side of his back was broken. So if you ever notice, anytime Ric Flair was body slammed, he always landed on his left side. So, but still, chair shots. I'm sure when Mick Foley took those massive, now those I think were real. I don't know if those were gimmicked chairs, the ones The Rock hit um, Mick Foley with. But fuck, man, though, Mick Foley, excuse me, strikes me as the type that probably went up to The Rock and said, "Hit me, man, hit me with a real chair so it looks good." Um, and that's why you listen to interviews with Mick Foley now, and it sounds like. Didn't Mick? Oh, I mean, it's uncomfortable. I still can't watch it when they show that match. You just hear the thud of his head. Um, yeah, I mean that's even a gimmicked trash can's gonna hurt. Um, it's a gimmick chair. Gimmick. You know, any object. Sting's baseball bat. I'm sure is not a real baseball bat, but they still hurt. I mean, uh, I think it was Kyle O'Reilly had a testicle ruptured because Sting hit him too hard. Now I'm sure the bat is made of like maybe it's like a wiffle ball bat painted black. But Sting hit him in the balls. That was the spot. And it might not have been Kyle O'Reilly. It might have been Buddy Matthews. Um, so yeah, I did like Mick Foley's book. I did read that. I'm trying to think of the last wrestling book I read. Might have been Jericho's, which was actually pretty good. So yeah, I mean um, it's very choreographed. The dangerous stuff. Although Darby Allin, he's a real wild card. Like that one glass stunt he did at was it like 2 pay-per-views ago when he was Sting's tag team partner, and they were I think it was Sting's last match in Greensboro, um, where he did that spot against the Young Bucks on the outside of the ring. That was kind of dangerous because it really didn't add anything to the match. And I'm sure, but I could also see Sting going to Darby Allin, "Hey man, do one of your spots, get your shine, and that'll give me a chance to rest." So it's it's pretty impressive. that they aren't hurt more often. I mean, I was just talking about my with a friend today who wrestles in an organization, and we were talking about Satnam Singh and how dangerous he is. And apparently, Satnam Singh's like the nicest guy, but he's so fucking strong he doesn't realize his own strength. And he comes from the basketball world, so he's not still in training. Like he actually power bombs you, and they're trying to teach him no, because I was at a comedy show with JD Drake, who's one of the I guess you'd call him a jobber in AEW. And I think I was talking to him because I'd seen him wrestle Wardlow at the Forum, I think like 2 years ago. And I remember those power bombs he took were pretty fucking vicious looking. So I just asked him, you know, hey, do those hurt? They look like they do. And he vouched for Wardlow. And apparently, when you pick someone up to power bomb them, if you do it correctly, you just drop them. So they fall down on their own, time frame. And, Satnam Singh, when he gets you up there, he doesn't drop you. He throws you down. Like he actually does the fucking move. And I mean, that's, dangerous. Uh, yeah, I think Sting, the way, they took care of him. I'll have to read some of Jim Ross books. I want to read Gary Hart's book. Um, I think that's available on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, Darby and Shane would be good, because Darby, Teddy, that's a great match because Darby's like Mr. AEW, one of the pillars. Shane is like Mr. WWE. Can you imagine if Darby Allin had a mystery match? Darby goes out to the ring first, and then here comes the money. There's very few people that could come back right now where the pop would be insane. Shane McMahon's first appearance in AEW will be bonkers if they do it right. Well, I got to get the special out first before I do any books. But never say never. I mean, I have led an interesting life, but the majority of people, even some in this stream, they don't really know who I am. So I don't want to release anything unless people are going to buy it. I mean, that's the whole point of putting out a special is making some money, honey. Like doing the streams, that's not the point for me. So, we'll see. I hope to have the special done in a few months, and it'll probably be YouTube release only, I suppose, and then we'll just see what happens next. That's where the Earl Army needs to be in full force, sharing it, retweeting it, Instagramming it, like anything and everything, you know. But specials also, they don't mean what they used to. I mean, it used to be a really big deal if you had a special, but now, I mean, I had a friend of mine literally uploaded his own special to Amazon, and he got a special on Amazon. Yes, the Cobra intro. I had someone talking to me about that uh, Saturday night at the Comedy Stores. That's going to separate the believers from the non-believers. Like, if you make it past that Cobra intro, you're going to watch the special. If you sit there and see me doing in LA comedy, there's over 300 rapes, blah, blah, blah. And I put the microphone up my ass, you might hit channel change. But that's okay. I mean, although obviously I want massive numbers and everyone to watch this, I don't want people watching it who are just going to go, oh, this sucks. Of course, everyone has an opinion, and, you're right to have that. But that's also kind of like why I did the Cobra intro, because you're either with me or against me after that. And hopefully you're with me. And if you're against me, I get it. So it's just different, It it's a real homage to Stallone for sure. I think a couple of my younger fans and friends are like, "What the fuck does this mean?" And then I show them there's a video of the beginning of Cobra on YouTube, and they're like, "Oh, that's funny." So it's definitely gonna require some people to do some research and going, "Okay, I don't get that beginning." But you know what? Even if you don't, it's still pretty funny. So, all right, you kids, we did a nice hour stream. I believe Melton is streaming, so going over to Nobody Likes Onions. Now, my regularly scheduled streams are going to be, for the moment, Thursday and Sunday nights. And, we will do random streams like this one when I feel it is necessary. Earl Skakel, over and out. Thank you for the love, the patronage. You know, um, you guys have been with me from day one, and I appreciate the love. And I hope that you like the special when it comes out. All I ask is that you share it in whatever way you could. Every little bit helps. Earl Skakel, over and out.